That's right, everybody. We're back with Conquer the Cave. I love doing this show, Charmer. It's been too long. We took a little bit of a Thanksgiving break. We're back again with our second Set 3 matchup. I know we just, as we're recording this, we also just recorded our Ice Cave Radio episode on the Set 4 spoilers, so that news just dropped. We're already starting to look ahead to Set 4, but we're also just getting into Set 3 in the live meta. So this is our second Set 3 matchup. It's going to be great. We've got none other than DaveyJones trying to do something that has not yet been done before on Conquer the Cave, which is to win 3 weeks in a row. He beat Rhaenys. He beat Ben Kenobi to get here as well. I think it was T-Bird, if I recall correctly, got 2 wins, and that's the highest anyone else has gotten. So we'll see today if DaveyJones can do what has not been done before. But getting into this match, Charmer, anything to say as we start off the show here?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see if we get somebody who completes their trilogy for the first time ever on Conquer the Cave.
That's a great way to put it.
I've been thinking about it.
I love that. Yeah.
But I also just wanted to say, for those of you who are in the United States, if you also celebrated Thanksgiving, then I hope you had a wonderful holiday and that your porg was very tasty.
Yeah. Delicious porg, or what would be the Star Wars equivalent of a turducken? You know, what would that be? A porg would be the smallest one, so a deboned porg inside a deboned womp rat, maybe inside a deboned one of those frog things, maybe too.
Could be one of the frog things. I was thinking like a Minoc.
Not a lot of birds in Star Wars, when you think about it.
Yeah, at least a Minoc has wings.
That's true. Yeah, it does fly. All right. Well, anyway, there you go. This is your Star Wars turducken. This is the content you come here for, right? But you also come for the gameplay. So let's take a look at the decks for today. We have Rex on Rex on Rex, which is DaveyJones's Rex command list. And I've always been a fan of double command. I've been really wanting to make it work ever since the game came out. I'm working on a Wat Tambor list, but here we see the heroism side of it. And I think we're just going to see a lot of clones. I'm interested in seeing how cards like squad support specifically that we see in this list are going to work today. What's your knee-jerk reaction on this list?
My knee-jerk reaction is that there is only 2 copies of the Captain Rex unit. And for a deck that's called Rex on Rex on Rex, I expected maximum Rex. I wanted this to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex of Rexes, but 2 copies is still fine. Ultimately, I think that this is a solid list. I really like, because this is going so wide, I like a lot of the inclusions I'm seeing that helps you stabilize your board. Things like Bright Hope to lock down space. The Peacekeeper is fantastic with ECL against aggressive lists. Isla Secura, when you have that coordinate turned on, can be just absolutely brutal off of ambush. So I like a lot of the tools here, and I think that this is the kind of list that can be aggressive, but can also kind of play that mid-range and just take the value trades on board and win that way.
Yeah, I love the inclusion of the one choose sides too. I think main deck, if you're running double green, if you're running a lot of tokens like this, you got to run at least one main deck. So I like seeing that there too. Yeah. Let's take a look at the challenger coming in this week. It's AlejandrOh on his Cunning Sabine. So Cunning Sabine is a list that's been good for a very long time and has been kind of a sleeper list, I think, right now in Set 3 and to a certain extent in Set 2, but Set 3 really gave it some new tools. And we see that here with the Plo Koon, the Sabine Wren, which is just a one of, just kind of trying it off. Trying it out. I love the new R2 inclusion as just some hand fixing and just a big body that's going to be annoying to get rid of. You got the blaster in there from Set 2. I think this is a solid list. I have not tested it yet myself, despite being an OG Sabine Cunning lover. Let me get your take on this, though.
So there are some things that jump out to me. One, as you said, the R2D2, it's a fantastic unit. The 2/4 stat line alone would make you want to play it. The traits match up as well. Traditionally, you would want more rebels, I think. I don't know. So the knee-jerk reaction I have here is that we've got 3 copies of Wing Leader, and don't get me wrong, like going A-Wing into Wing Leader is an incredibly powerful play, but the more I'm looking at this list, I'm actually seeing there's a hefty amount of things that don't have the rebel keywords, right? I'm seeing Cartel Turncoat. I'm seeing the L337. I'm seeing the Millennium Falcon 3-drop, right? These are all stuff that don't have that rebel keyword, the new R2D2. There is one copy of the new Jin or so. I'm actually pretty high on her as well. I like that. But even looking at stuff like, I like Wolfpack Escort in theory, but what I was expecting to see paired with that is kind of missing. I think Wolfpack Escort is really good either with your Spec Force, if you want to use it to get rid of Sentinel, or if you're not going to go on a Rebel-centric list, doing something like a Reckless Gunslinger where you can get that direct damage and then bounce it back and then do it again is also, I think, really important. So some of the cards I expected to see comboed with that aren't here. Now, it is probably just meant to be a 2/1 space unit 1-drop, and maybe the bounce isn't the emphasis, but there is some synergy opportunities there. Overall, though, I love Sabine Cunning, so I'm still really excited about this.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how these two lists are going to run into each other. I think Sabine has a chance to just overwhelm the Rex list with damage, but at the same time, if the Rex list stabilizes, I think it's going to be really difficult for Alejandro to win. So this one could really go either way, but enough talking about it. I want to get in the games. How about you?
Yes, let's go see how it plays out.
All right, here we are into game number 1. DaveyJones with there's a virtual fist pump. I love it. Thanks, guys. DaveyJones on the left with the double command Rex running the energy conversion lab. And on the right, we have our challenger, AlejandrOh, with the chopper base, Sabine. So this will be a fun one. And it looks like everything is set up correctly. Nothing's backwards this week, so I think we're all good there. I don't know who's going first, but I think we're about to find out, Charmer.
Yeah, there are some interesting accessories I'd like to point out on the side of DaveyJones. I love this stained glass Imperial, fighter.
That is sick.
Playmat. Yeah. It's really, really cool. On the other side, shout out to Alejandro using the Beskar Initiative token. That's something that is created by the people who do Fab Metal tokens, but they do Star Wars Unlimited stuff as well. I have that particular initiative token and I use it with my twin son stuff, and it's a really cool one.
That's sick. Is that a little baby Yoda marker to designate his hand too? That's neat.
I actually think it's a duck.
It might be a duck, but it's a Yoda duck. Look, it's kind of green. It has Yoda ears. Look at that. It's like a Yoda rubber duck. Yeah. I'm going to maintain that that's what it is. It looks like there was a mulligan from DaveyJones. He's putting down his resources now, and then we will see who goes first.
Probably didn't see some of the key cards that he wanted to see. So in this particular matchup on the side of DaveyJones, looking for early drops is crucial because you don't want to fall behind on board, but also things like the Centauri Peacekeeper are going to be really important so that you can keep your health afloat. On the other side, the way that Alejandro wins this is through space. We saw a lot of aggressive space units, 1, 2, and 3 drops in this list. And then combining those with things like sneak attack and surprise strike for that bonus damage as I think how he can close it out. So with that in mind, the other kind of key card to watch for in this matchup would be something like Bright Hope from DaveyJones to wall up on that side.
Yeah, pretty good static start from the two of them, or I should say standard start from the two of them. The Green Squadron A-Wing on the Alejandro side. You've got the Battlefield Marine on the DaveyJones side. So just establishing some of those good early set 1 units. What do you think about the no hero usage from Alejandro there? I feel like if you play Sabine, you're going to be doing damage to your own base. It's just how it is. You've got more health than them too, especially with ECL. So, I mean, maybe you wanted to make sure you had the red 3 out there. It looks like manufactured soldiers being shown here. So that's going to be a couple clones, I would imagine. But yeah, what do you think about not using the Sabine ability there?
It's an interesting choice because if you are not using it, it's likely because you want to prioritize having initiative. And usually when I want initiative, the reason I want it on that next turn is for a wing leader deployment. So seeing the red 3 feels weird to me because that 1 damage you're getting from the red 3 you could have guaranteed with your leader activation.
Sure.
And also delayed, right? By playing that red 3 there, you left yourself open. If your opponent was running something like Consortium Star Viper, for example, even without the restore, running that into your A-Wing off the ECL would be a massive play, right? You get no value. So it just felt like a weird sequence there. I was really expecting Wing Leader the way that they passed. That's the only time I think I would pass up my leader ability.
Looks like initiative claimed by DaveyJones, and so it's going to be the Sabine activation from Alejandro then on the second turn. But I agree too. I mean, if you really wanted to get the attack off with the A-Wing, you would have done that before playing the red 3 anyway, right? Which you would never want to do because you don't want to miss out on the damage from the red 3. So Both of us are big time Sabine players, so I agree that there
Yeah.
might have been a damage miss there. But either way, it is an early lead. We do see Sabine putting on that pressure as we go into the 4 resource turns for both players here. Flip turn for Alejandro, as that Sabine does flip on 4 resources. And so the big question. Oh, it's a cat. Whoa. Surprise assault. Surprise
the
strike.
most exciting thing that has happened in the history of Conquer the Cave.
I mean, we had a pretty cool skateboard trick from Ben Kenobi last week, but that's the first time we've seen a non-human creature attack the board here. But that good recovery by Alejandro right there. I think he won that battle at least,
Yeah.
All right.
Finishing what you were talking about, you and I, again, both played a lot of Cunning Sabine.
Yeah.
So one of the things that stands out to me as well is the reason I liked Cunning Sabine, especially in set 1, was because you had that 5 extra health. So you could be a bit more cavalier with your leader activations against people playing Energy Conversion Lab. So that's more of a reason I would have liked to have seen them put their foot on the gas. Now, however, that Bright Hope, again, one of those cards to watch out for that I had called out earlier, is there. It will not trade back immediately with this A-Wing, but it will soak up 4 damage from the attack.
Yeah, it feels rough, right? To have to run the A-Wing and potentially the Red 3 in there as well. It's going to be 3 damage to base from the Battlefield Marine on the other side here, but is there maybe a way for Alejandro to remove that Bright Hope without having to run its Red 3 into it? No, it doesn't look like it is. So that's a pretty severe weakening. And, we know this double green list, potentially runs something like Cunning. That could take out the Green Squadron A-Wing at least. So, or not Cunning, a Command rather. I don't know why I keep saying Cunning, but either way, he's got ways to deal with it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's something that I would certainly be on the lookout for. Command, if you're not familiar, you can have one of your units deal damage to a non-unique unit equal to its power. So that's why it can only target that A-Wing. But
right.
Again, that would still give you a pretty big swing, especially if you combine it with something like experience tokens. But the big thing that Bright Hope did is it soaked up essentially 7 damage from the combo of the A-Wing and the Red 3. And then it allows DaveyJones to catch up on the life total. He's just going to keep swinging here on the ground. And that's really important because, again, Alejandro has that 5 extra health on the base. And so if you can bring yourself into close to parity and then still have your energy conversion lab, that's going to be really beneficial. The biggest issue is now you have to survive this Sabine turn. So the leader's deploying and swinging for 3, 4, counting Red 3.
Right. And that's going to go right to base. So opting not to clear one of those clone trooper tokens as well. And I do wonder a little bit because you're feeling the pressure here, and it looks like it's for a cause I believe in to finish up the turn for Alejandro here, and he should get all 4. I believe there's enough heroism in there for that. No, misses with the surprise strike. Gets 3. I knew I shouldn't have said it. Either way, that's still 3 damage at least. So should be 13 damage on base right now for DaveyJones, 9 for Alejandro there. But yeah, I mean, if you're Alejandro, you're starting to feel a little bit worried. Like, can you win this race? You have to do 12 more damage, but their board is getting big. And if they can clear the space side of things, you're going to be in a lot of trouble here. So this is going to be a pivotal next turn.
Yeah, looking at this, I think it's just 12 on the base, and I'm wondering if that's because they either forgot the Sabine trigger or the raid from the Red 1.
Right, because it should be 1 more damage. I believe it should be... oops, I have to go there to match the players anyway. I believe it should be 13. There might have been a missed damage there. But I'm with you. But we're just going to go with what the players have on bases for this at least. But yeah, I do wonder, because it seemed like there was less damage put on when the Sabine attacks, so I wonder if it was the one missed from Red 3. And it could have been Alejandro.
We were resolving a bunch of stuff, so it's also entirely possible. I thought I saw 9, and then it would have been 9 plus 4, so I was with you on the 13, but maybe the 9 was also kind of like including the 1 damage ping from Sabine when he announces it. Obviously, with us not having comms, it's hard to tell, but a second Bright Hope is going to do an awful lot to stall this out for DaveyJones. And again, I called it out, a card to watch for, and a second one is clutch.
That is backbreaking, actually, for Alejandro, I think. That's, I mean, unless you have some way to remove that, that is going to be the end of space, for Alejandro here. He's going to attack in with Sabine. Is he going to go into a unit? Oh, no, it looks like it's just to base. So
no, You don't want to trade
3,
now.
and there should be another damage on there. Where's the 4? There it is. Okay, did add 4 on there. All right. Maybe a little bit of damage counter consolidation here.
So kind of highlighting one of the things I mentioned when we were
it looks like
looking
they
at the
found the
deck
one
list.
from earlier. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
They did add one
No,
extra
you're
one on
fine.
there, so it looks like they remembered the one from earlier and just gentleman's agreement to put it on there.
Yep, they got there.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, highlighting something that I was talking about during the deck list portion, that Bright Hope having Sentinel and being so clutch there is yet another reason why I'm still a big fan of always making sure I have 1 to 2 Spec Force soldiers in my lists, because that's just a 1 resource answer.
There we go.
Again, with those Wolf escorts in space now, you can get so much additional value. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Surprise Strike. Now, what's interesting to me is he used it on the Red 3, so that's kind of signaling that there's another one in hand potentially.
You would imagine, yeah. Because otherwise I'd be a little bit surprised, no pun intended, to see it used that way.
Yeah, it's just it's a more critical unit to preserve because the base stats are higher, the static effect is better, it costs more to deploy, but with 3 resources, and there it is. There's the follow-up.
I was about to be very concerned because I was like, all right, that's just objectively better to trade in your Green Squadron A-Wing, but he's got another one. Yep. Alejandro knows what's up. Yeah.
And doing it this way, heads up to Alejandro, with the sequencing means that you're still going to get that +1 from the additional raid.
Correct.
When you do swing with your A-Wing. So just being patient, making sure you maximize your damage.
There's a lot of damage on base for DaveyJones here. So, but it is the, well, it's not the flip turn yet either. Captain Rex flips on 6. So you've got to find a way to survive. Not only to that flip turn. Oh, no, he flips on 5. What am I talking about?
He flips on 5. The unit is a 6 cost. Rex flips on 5.
Yeah.
And that is, again, very relevant because it's going to be a lot of potential damage. The biggest issue right now for DaveyJones is finding a way to stabilize your health or answer these space units. The 2 Bright Hopes helped, but you still haven't hit some of your restore options like the Peacekeeper. And what's worse, and this is an interesting part about this matchup and why the Alejandro list being so space heavy is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have right now anything that you could actually ambush a Peacekeeper into to get the immediate restore.
Right. Now, if Alejandro, okay, so yeah, you see DaveyJones actually claims initiative here because you have to. If you don't, Alejandro just claims initiative and then wins with the attack from the Green Squadron A-Wing the very next turn here. So match point, essentially, or a game point, essentially, from Alejandro's side. If you can get that one last attack in there, if DaveyJones can't find a way to heal or take out that stuff in space, game 1 could be over here.
Yeah, and even if you do have the answer, there's a lot of options available to Alejandro to still close it out.
Doesn't look like he does. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. Cards start getting cleaned up, and that's going to be Alejandro taking game number 1. All right, here we are for game number 2 between Alejandro and DaveyJones. Alejandro taking game number 1 with the Rapid Assault from the Sabine Cunning. And you and I both know how much damage that deck can put out. Game 1 was no surprise there, huh?
No, certainly not, especially when you look at the disparity in terms of space units. DaveyJones doesn't have a lot of traditional control elements in his deck. If he's going to gain control of the momentum of this kind of matchup, he kind of needs to do it with units on the board. Alejandro has an incredibly space-centric list. It looks like that's just going to be the priority going through. And even with 2 Bright Hopes last game, it wasn't enough for DaveyJones to slow down Alejandro because it soaks the damage but doesn't trade with cards like Red 3, like the Green Squadron A-Wing. And then eventually DaveyJones was put in that position where they had to take initiative and had to draw some sort of answer. But even if you had an answer, what I was kind of alluding to at the end of game 1 is you still lose to a surprise strike. You still lose to For a Cause I Believe in for 4. There were so many immediate answers available to Alejandro. So this time around, DaveyJones, I think you are again hard mulliganing and looking for Bright Hope. It was still good. I think that's still part of the game plan, but again, getting something like a Peacekeeper is going to be a big deal, especially now that you've seen this list, because you know Alejandro is not going to fight for you on the ground. And so if you can get Restore 2 up and running early, uncontested in the ground arena, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. And both players mulliganing, it seemed like. But like you said, he needs to find a way to deal with space specifically coming here into game number 2. I want to say, too, that if DaveyJones is able to come back and win this one, not only will he would have won 3 in a row, he would have done it with 3 different decks, too, which is kind of impressive in itself as well. Oh, is that just an initiative claim from? Oh, no. Okay. He's like, I'm going to take the initiative first, obviously. And then.
I think he was saying I start with initiative.
That's what I said.
He was waiting to make sure Alejandro had the resources down. And then he's saying, okay, I have it. I'm going to start. And opens with just your standard 3/2 heroism clone ground unit. But Alejandro does pass. And that is brutal.
Yeah, no kidding. That is the absolute last thing you want to do if you are a Sabine player, is not have anything to play on turn number 1. And that's so rare, too. Even with, I'm pretty sure we were talking and stuff, so I wasn't paying super close attention. I'm pretty sure there was a mulligan in there too. So to have that situation is kind of brutal for the Sabine player. We'll see if that comes back to haunt him. You can come back, but that is a major disadvantage to start with.
Yeah, there had to have been a mulligan, because I can't imagine a situation where as a Sabine player, you have a hand with no turn 1 play.
I don't like this at all.
This has to have been off of a mulligan, because... If you're just listening...
Okay.
If you've got this playing in the background and you're not watching the screen, Alejandro has skipped turn 1 and then played For a Cause I Believe In. Now, this is going to be a 4 damage For a Cause, but this is going to be 2 straight turns of no board presence for a Sabine player.
Yeah, that hurts real bad. And you're in that situation, too, where it's like, do you really even want to, do you really even want to, take initiative here, or do you want to use Sabine ability because you're already down in health here? I think you can still use Sabine ability, but you want to get something out on the board. Deciding if he wants to discard some of these or rearrange them and put them on the top of the deck, because that is something that For a Cause lets you do. Pretty nice side ability for that. And
they all went to the top. I was about to say, I'd be surprised if any of these went back, because with nothing on the board, the Fleet Lieutenant doesn't have a ton of value. R2-D2 was maybe the only thing that I would have considered keeping. Plo Koon, far more relevant when you have the Coordinate. Doesn't look like that's coming soon. So maybe Alejandro just really likes his hand and is going to resource some of those cards. I could also see that as being a reason to continue to select them.
I wonder if we're going to see a Sabine flip and then a Fleet Lieutenant on that Sabine to just try to maximize just damage to base. But, again, I'd hope they've got something better in their hand than that.
Yeah, I was about to say that would be a really clutch play. The problem is the Peacekeeper, again, cards to highlight, has hit the board. And now, even if you flip that Sabine and you Fleet Lieutenant, that doesn't clean up a Peacekeeper by itself. So that Restore is now active and pretty much uncontested at the moment.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is kind of the disadvantage with the Sabine leader versus the Sabine set 1 unit, is that the set 1 unit can do damage to the defender. The leader can only do an extra damage to the base. So it would only hit the Peacekeeper for 4. Okay, sneak attacking in the Fleet Lieutenant. Wow, this is a very unorthodox game from Alejandro, but I think, he's doing what he can, right? He's doing whatever he can because of the hand situation that he's found himself in. This does let him do 5 damage to the Peacekeeper, though. This is kind of a little known tech with Sneak Attack and Fleet Lieutenant, is that because it comes in ready, it can target itself and then attack. So that is a really neat little usage of that card to clear that crucial unit. But we are seeing some wild stuff out of Alejandro. I kind of love it. You're getting to see the Sabine deep tech here.
Yeah, so as you were rightfully pointing out, Fleet Lieutenant does not say another unit. It just says a unit. You just don't traditionally target yourself because units enter play exhausted. But when you pair it with Sneak Attack, as you pointed out, it can target itself and just give itself the bonus because it's also a rebel.
Yeah.
So that did clear up the Sundari Peacekeeper. Now, the one downside is you're going to for sure lose that Fleet Lieutenant, so you don't gain any additional board presence. You're just trying to get rid of something that you absolutely can't allow to stay on the board. The good news, though, is because you used Sneak Attack, it allowed you to also play this R2D2.
Yeah.
And then it also allowed you to set yourself up for this Sabine leader flip. On the side of DaveyJones, though, we do have a command coming down, and it looks like that's going to be for experience tokens and ramp.
Yeah, I mean, guess who else is going to flip this turn now? Captain Rex can definitely flip because he's got 5 resources there. There's going to be the Sabine activation here. And we have the attack as well from the clone on the other side. There's a Rex flip, going to make that clone trooper token. And this is going to be a pretty good answer to the Sabine Wren getting flipped here too. Alejandro doing everything he can, but that command just putting DaveyJones right back into the driver's seat for the moment.
Yeah. With the way that the actions are playing out right now, the nice thing as well is DaveyJones can attack with Rex here. And then Alejandro, if they want to get damage with their leader, they're going to have to give DaveyJones initiative. And that 3/2 clone unit with the 2 experience tokens is big enough to clean up Sabine with the initiative. So that's going to be another critical play by DaveyJones. I like that the command set that up for him. And you can see him taking initiative right there.
Yep, that's right. And, you know, people always talk about command being the, you know, the least of the legendary aspect cards. And in a lot of early decks that definitely was the case. But as the game gets bigger, as a card pool grows, command is going to just keep getting to be a better card, especially on the buffing and ramping side. And don't forget that you can bring a unit back from your trash too with it. And that can be a very crucial late game card if we're looking at things command can do in the course of a game. So I'm just going to say, like, keep an eye out for command. That card is just going to keep getting better the longer the game goes.
Well, and you and I are staring at one deck that's making tokens, and we got the news today that set 4 is going to include tokens as well. And so that target a non-unique opposing unit part of command is, I think, going to become more and more relevant as that becomes part of the Star Wars Unlimited experience, right? We just have more tokens.
Ooh,
meanwhile,
like
this is a great play. So we're using Energy Conversion Lab to ambush in a General Riken, which is going to give you a Sentinel and the on attack trigger here as well, right?
Yeah, that is sick. That's exactly right, and that's one of the great things you can do with this deck. I was running that with my Boba list too, where you hit ECL in the General Riken and do some fun tricks with that. But certainly enough to remove the Sabine and still leave a unit remaining. And that's still a 5/5. He's huge, right? I mean, people think about Obi-Wan Kenobi as the kind of big Sentinel unit Heroism has access to, the good big mid-game Sentinel unit. But Riken is definitely no card to ignore. There's a K2SO from Alejandro. So for now, just kind of hanging out rested, but, a promise of damage down the road.
Yeah, Alejandro, I think, is doing the absolute best that they can to navigate this, given the slow start. I mean, really, when you factor in that Alejandro skipped their turn 1 play, and then on turn 2, they only played for a cause I believe in. Yeah. The fact that the health totals are as close as they are right now is actually magnificent. It's not going to stay that way for very long because DaveyJones has attacks still in the tank here, and I suspect a lot of that's going to be going to the base. But if Alejandro can just kind of slow things down enough to find some space units, because that's the other piece of this puzzle, right? Not only did Alejandro miss drops, but he was incredibly successful off the back of units in the space arena in game 1, and we've seen 0 so far in game 2.
I think Alejandro forgot to remove the 5 from his base there. He should be at 14 damage after that buffed up clone attacked here. But going kind of back to what you were saying, and going back then to what I was saying pregame here, is that this Rex deck is all about stabilizing. If you can stabilize with a big ground presence on board when space isn't a problem, you're just going to win those games, right? And this is starting to look like one of those games, right? Very stable on the ground at the moment, but then also no space to worry about this time.
No space at all. And you had the early Peacekeeper, which forced Alejandro to take a less than optimal route on that 4 resource turn. That's a turn where you'd love to have slammed K2SO, but instead being forced to sneak attack in a Fleet Lieutenant to trade with the Peacekeeper.
It's a nice move.
Yes, you got rid of it, but it's definitely not what you want to be doing as the Sabine player.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to notice that extra 5 damage on base there. I'm not crazy, am I? Because he attacked with a clone, and then he just put a 10 on. And I think the idea was to put a 10 on and remove the 5 because he should be at 14 right now. Yeah. But the 5 has not been removed, and I don't see where else another 5 damage would come from because the Riken didn't attack base. It hit the Sabine. So I'm pretty sure that extra 5 was supposed to be removed there.
I think that is entirely possible.
I'm 99.9% sure here. This looks like a very good game for DaveyJones, either way. But that 5 damage is probably a decent thing to consider. The funny thing is, I think one of the games I put up on the channel when I was playing the Palpatine leader, I forgot to take off like 5 or 7 damage or something like that. So it just does happen sometimes. You're moving so many things around in a game of Unlimited. Sometimes you do just forget that kind of thing. I think I did that exact thing where I replaced a token that I meant to consolidate and then I forgot to take the other thing off.
What compounds it, at least in my experience, is also when you're playing webcam games. I think it's far easier to keep
100%.
track of those things when you're in person, you're just having to chat across the table. But when you're trying to coordinate this across webcams and there's also like a delay in the voice comms and you got the like inverted screen stuff to worry about and all that, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
But
I love that Akbar
here.
He's so good. Yeah. Akbar is so good. He's one of the most underrated units in the game right now. Takes out the K2SO, no problem at all. Are we going to see the damage of the discard? We're going to see the damage. 3 coming into base. It's going to take him up to 11 over on the DaveyJones side. But more restore to worry about if you're Alejandro. And how in the world does Sabine Cunning get rid of this? You've got Plo Koon coming in, but there's no coordinate, so he's going to only hit for 3. He's going to trade with that General Riken, and that's about it. Well, I guess he'll still have 1 health left, won't he? Yeah, he'll still have 1 left.
Yes. Yep, there's going to be the 1 health left because Plo Koon does still have that healthy back end of 6 health.
Yeah.
That being said, that is most of your turn. Again, as the Sabine player, you don't want to be the one who's reacting. So the fact that DaveyJones has Alejandro in a position where they have to continue to clear units off and try to survive, it means DaveyJones is certainly in the driver's seat, but also has a lot of leverage in the way he can navigate things now.
You know, he just put the damage on from the 5 damage from the First Legion Trooper. I can't remember the exact name of that card. The 3/2 generic that's been buffed by 2.
Oh, the Phase 2 Clone Trooper?
Yeah, that's the one. And he still kept the damage, so I don't think it should be that high, but I'm just going to adjust the counter on screen to reflect that since that seems to be where we're at, what the players have kind of accepted there. And we've got that squad support for Captain Rex, and that's a card I feel like we just don't see much at all. Very cool.
We don't, but it is a lot of damage here, and I believe that actually should be enough to close it out because
I think it is with that life total.
It is
all right.
Essentially a +3/+3 because it's 1 for every trooper, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually have to look up that card right now because I haven't looked at it in a long time. Let's see. Squad support is indeed attached to a non-leader unit. Actually, that should not have gone on the Rex. But
he did have the clone trooper token.
This unit gets +1/+1 for each trooper. Yeah, he could have put it on the trooper as well. So a little bit of a misuse with the upgrade there, but effectively it did not make a difference. I'm still a little bit dubious about that damage from earlier in the game. But either way, this looked like a game that DaveyJones was going to have no problem winning, so I don't think it had a big impact match-wise. But that said, we're all tied up, moving into game number 3. All right, here we are for game number 3 between DaveyJones and Alejandro. DaveyJones trying to keep the win streak alive, going for the first time 3 wins here in Conquer the Cave. Alejandro, the challenger, looking strong in game number 1. Game 2 just could not find a great opening hand, set him so far behind. I think that was a big part of why that game went his opponent's way, but still very much alive and very much in it with the Sabine Wren.
Yeah, and going back to that last game, I want to correct myself, especially because Alejandro just dumped a bunch of tokens out. So while he's cleaning that up, I was saying Phase 2 Clone Trooper, but I double checked because I had a suspicion. I was like, that doesn't feel right. The Phase 2 Clone Trooper is the unit with ambush. The generic one is the Phase 1 Clone Trooper. So I need to put some respect on those phases. But poor Alejandro here has spilled tokens and had a cat run across the mat. But I did also notice while we were on the break that his playmat has like cat paws and themes. So, maybe that's why he won game one, because the cat was there to bless it.
It could be. He needs the cat to high five the paw on the playmat to really get the full on kitty blessing, I suppose. Very similar start to game number one, actually, where we have the A-Wing on the Alejandro side, the Battlefield Marine on the DaveyJones side. The difference is this time around, Alejandro has the initiative because he did lose the last game here. So we'll see if that makes a difference. But, if you're DaveyJones, you got to be thinking about game number one. You got to be sweating a little bit here.
So Alejandro did opt to not use the leader, but again, with initiative, I like this play. This makes sense, even if you don't have something like a wing leader, because again, guaranteeing that you can attack with your A-Wing before something potentially ambushes it, I think is really relevant. Instead, though, we're gonna have that sneak attack fleet lieutenant play.
He loves that one. All right, we'll just go right in for 5 damage. Why not? It is something that you totally do in Cunning Sabine. I just feel like when I played Cunning Sabine, I just didn't have very many opportunities where that was the move I wanted to do. But it was always cool that was an option in the pocket if you needed it. But Alejandro loves that play, and it is going to be 5 on base. DaveyJones has to eat right off the bat. Oh, and good thing, too, because here comes the Echo-based defender.
I just never seem to have it in my hand. I always got stuck sneak attacking my K2SOs, but this is, as you said, good timing. Echo-based defender comes down for Davey. Green Squadron A-Wing does get 3 more damage in. So DaveyJones already taking 8 damage by this second turn of the game. You got to do something here because that Green Squadron A-Wing is not likely to stay alone. I think that second game is a bit of an anomaly. And of course, as I'm saying that, it's joined by a cartel turncoat.
Yeah, I was about to say too, and as the Sabine activation puts a damage on each player's base, I was going to say if all it is the A-Wing in space, then DaveyJones can feel a little bit more comfortable. But now you're looking at a minimum of 5 damage per turn coming from the space arena. So you do have to start to worry a little bit. That said, the Fleet Lieutenant, I believe, should be exiting the board here during the regroup phase. There you go. Yep, because of the sneak attack. And now that's a pretty strong ground presence for DaveyJones. The 3-3 and the 4-3 with Sentinel. That is pretty scary to look at from the Alejandro side of things too. So how are you going to both build the board and deal with that? All you need to really do is mitigate it. Oh, and there's a bright hope for DaveyJones, just what the doctor ordered.
I was just about to say there's only 2 potential plays that are going to happen here. DaveyJones opted to not attack with the Battlefield Marine last turn, instead wanted to prioritize initiative. And when you do that going into turn 4 against this board, it means one of 2 things. It's either you have the bright hope and you wanted to get it down before the A-Wing could attack, or you also could have had something like a command where you could have buffed up, say, like your Echo-based defender and then used that to get rid of the Green Squadron A-Wing because, again, it's not unique. But Bright Hope comes down. There is a counter on the ECL. So this is interesting. I think that he ambushed it into the A-Wing. This is, I think, a recognition of a potentially a mistake from game 1 because you remember the A-Wing and the Red 3 both survived when they attacked into it, but by doing it this way, you only take 1 damage, but because the raid isn't active when it's defending, you get 2 damage on that A-Wing and you force it into a position where if it swings in, it's going to die now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great call out, is that this just makes it trade a little bit more evenly with your bright hopes. So you do lose the ECL activation, and you got to think about the power of that General Riken ECL that we saw in game number 2. But if you just want to maintain that control, if you just want to try to mitigate the damage, which if you got 10 on base already, I think you really have to, it's a good way to approach it. ECLing in the bright hope, and that's going to be 4 damage on base now from the Echo-based defender.
Well, I also think it's really important to recognize that the game state is different. Game 2, it made sense to ECL the Riken, but after you got ran over in space game 1 and you're seeing shades of that here,
right,
putting the emphasis on cleaning up the space, I think, is really important. I also loved this exchange because the Echo-based defender has Sentinel, it got to attack, and then the Battlefield Marine put 3 damage on the Sabine leader. So now Sabine will die if it trades into this Echo-based defender. Alejandro answers with a Fleet Lieutenant to buff that A-Wing and finally clean up the Bright Hope.
Yeah, I do like that. That does at least let you get that cartel turncoat in space, doing damage yet. Is Sabine going to trade in with the Echo Base Defender? I think you might as well. Looks like that's going to be the plan here.
So,
yeah, thinking about it.
yeah.
I think you have to, right? You're going to have to deal with it at
Well,
some point. It's only going to get harder.
Well, so what I was about to say, though, is you're going to attack into it, but you don't trade.
Oh, you're right. Ugh.
So you're just doing it to get 1 extra damage on the base from the trigger.
I think you still have to do it, but it doesn't feel good. 2 more damage from the cartel turncoat. And so at least you've still got the healthy life lead. That Echo Base Defender is certainly putting in work.
You do have the healthy life lead if you're Alejandro. The other thing you have working in your favor is, again, Energy Conversion Lab means that you only have to do so much damage to get into the danger zone. You really become a threatening deck when you get the opposing player to around 19 or 20 damage on base, because then things like Surprise Strike are threatening lethal, right? So if you get 20 damage on base, that Cartel Turncoat is a Surprise Strike away from finishing things.
Yeah.
DaveyJones is already at 13. And so, yeah, I think trading, even if it's not a true trade, sacrificing is a better way to describe it. Sacrificing that Sabine just to guarantee the 1 damage trigger probably makes sense, because if this turn you can get some extra damage in and maybe throw something like a For a Cause I Believe in, you're within striking distance.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying too, by throwing it in last turn and getting it killed then, that means you're going to have the activation on the leader this turn too. So you do kind of guarantee you don't miss out on that damage. Well, nice timing for the Akbar, just cleanly sniping that Fleet Lieutenant. And that's Alejandro would have loved to at least trade with the Echo Base Defender and get rid of that 4 damage coming in, but we'll see what he can do now. There's the For a Cause. We know there are misses in the deck, but and there's one. Okay, so he sideboarded in the Saboteur card from set number 3. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm terrible with set 3 card games or card names yet.
You get 3 damage in here. This is one of the things that I was kind of on the lookout for, because you get 3 damage here, likely 2 more from the turncoat and 1 more from your leader. And as I said before, that 19 to 20 damage range is where you want to be. And with that math, with no other cards play, you get to them to 19 on base, and you also still have 2 resources open. So I do think Alejandro is probably on this game plan of trying to present a 2-turn clock, essentially this one to set up a kill next turn. Now, the Akbar might throw a wrench into things, because it does give Davey access to restore. He, after this exchange, is likely going to be the one with initiative, so he can lead off with that. We'll have to wait and see, though, because if Davey does decide to deploy his leader, Alejandro could jump on that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And Sabine Wren has another chance to ping the base as well. We should mention, too, Breaking In is the name of that card, by the way. That kind of card. All right. And another Phase 1 Clone Trooper.
Wow.
Building the board.
So I think DaveyJones is just saying, I'm not going to have initiative, and I'm just going to hope that I don't die immediately, because we still haven't even deployed Rex.
Yeah, I guess the question is, can DaveyJones, we know there's Commander Cody in there. Is there a way where maybe he's thinking, all right, I'm just going to build the board as much as I can and then try to just win it with Commander Cody next turn? That's like the vibe I'm feeling here.
Well, the problem that you have right now, though, is that without initiative and you don't have access to that restore, you're facing Alejandro can swing with the Sabine, and even if it just trades in with the Echo Base, it can deal that 1 damage off the trigger to the base. That takes Davey to 20.
Right.
If Davey then immediately activates Akbar to get that restore, he gets a little bit of health, but again, a Surprise Strike plus your leader is already threatening, and that's not even counting other cards.
Yeah, I mean,
consider.
I think when you're in the position DaveyJones is in, you have to just play for the win, right? You'd have to play to win instead of to not lose, if that makes sense. Where it's like, all right, I'm to the point where I'm going to get pinged down by events or by leader ability in the near future. So I have to try to win ASAP, because I'm going to die regardless if I don't. I like the angle. I like the angle.
I don't know that you die regardless though. There's play to win, but there's also play to your outs, right? And so when you consider that you do have cards like command still in your list, and if you have initiative and you draw a command, you could use that off initiative to clear up the turncoat in space.
Yeah.
Like you do still have answers to that if you have the initiative. This is very interesting though, because Alejandro is just going to play red 3 with his initiative.
Yeah.
Which is wild to me. It does make the Sabine not be able to be attacked because of the aspects that are on the board, but that's essentially a non-damage action, and that is a big window for DaveyJones to take advantage now.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that one too. I think having Sabine not be able to attack is maybe the plan, but if you were just going to attack in and ping the base anyway, you know, now what's the plan here? Now the Akbar does get a little bit better here. That 1 health is suddenly a little bit more impactful if you can go down to 18. Oh, there's the Cody. Wow, he's not even going to do the restore. That's what I was guessing here. I've been playing a lot of double green, and I'm like, this feels like he's setting up for a Cody play. Is this going to be enough to win it out, though? I mean, you're still so close to death here.
No, I'm so surprised we didn't see the Akbar, because if there was a surprise strike there from Alejandro, you just lose on the spot.
The bravery from DaveyJones. He's like, if you've got it, you've got it. That's just how it is. All right, there's the Akbar. We're going to heal, go to 21. Let me go over there. 21 damage on base. There's not enough resources available to play for a cause, so he knows that he's not really jeopardized by that. Sabine will do a damage to base here.
So the potential outs here are much smaller now. You do have sneak attack available, but you've got, well, you could have the sneak attack fleet lieutenant, and if the Echo base defender is gone, that would be a way to do it.
Yeah,
but the Echo base defender has more health now because of both Captain Rex and Commander Cody.
Right, exactly. That's a total +2 health for that. So that there is 1 health remaining on that Echo base defender. Okay, so it's 5.
Yeah, I wonder if that was Alejandro's plan.
9 plus. I think he might just have exact lethal here.
So another potential out would be a sneak attack on something like.
And when I say exact, I mean plenty of lethal. I think he
has plenty of lethal, but Alejandro, a sneak attack on something like a Millennium Falcon. Yes, the Falcon already enters ready, but you could play it for the 2 resources or things along those lines. No, he just didn't have it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, what an end to that series. That is crazy, right? I mean, DaveyJones taking some big risk there, but it's like I said, if you think you're going to lose the game regardless, or you have a high enough chance, and you just say, hey, I'm going to set myself up to win this next turn, and either they got it or they don't, and this time they didn't have it. DaveyJones becomes our first 3-win person. I should have thought of a name for this. He completes the trilogy and gets a 3rd win on Conquer the Cave. I'm totally stealing Charmer's line, but wow, going back to us here, what a series. That was actually a ton of fun. It was close. It was well played throughout. There was that little mistake in game 2 with the life count. Again, going back and watching that, I don't think that would have made a difference in terms of the result of that game. But game 3, wow, just like the bravery by DaveyJones to just go for it with the Cody play. I love it. Yeah, that's the kind of gameplay I love to see. I love that.
That was just full send moment, because like I said, with the red 3 down, as I was trying to think through, like, why would somebody want to play that red 3? Like, yes, it makes the Sabine not get attacked, but like, what is the real path here? And I thought for sure it was because that +1 raid would be enough for a single surprise strike to just finish off DaveyJones. So essentially saying you have 1 action to deal with this, but then when it didn't happen, I was shocked. So
I mean,
ultimately we got to see the hand at the end, and I understand why that it went that way. Obviously it was just the 1 Green Squadron A-wing, but the writing looked like it was on the wall, and DaveyJones said, you know what, I'm just gonna slam Cody and we're gonna go.
Yeah, and that ended up being the right move at the right time. And again, that means DaveyJones wins 3 in a row. It's called a turkey in bowling, I guess, if you get 3 strikes in a row. We just had Thanksgiving, so that kind of is appropriate here too. It's a Conquer the Cave turkey. He completes the trilogy, which is totally, I'm going to use that. That is so good. You came up with that on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm sometimes smart.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this podcast, because people just want to hear you say smart things. There you go.
Sometimes.
But great series. Thanks to Alejandro for showing up and playing some great Sabine Cunning games. I think that does demonstrate an important thing, that some of those leaders from set 1 and set 2 are still very, very viable. And set 1 Sabine with Cunning has more tools than ever. And so definitely a deck worth going out and piloting and having some fun with. Very close to taking the win this time around. But DaveyJones does it. Any final thoughts before we close out this series?
Yeah, I would say, bring your A game if you want to dethrone DaveyJones. This is Skywalker level play, having completed the trilogy. So I want to see some real juice, some real energy the next Conquer the Cave.
That's right. We'll have to wait and see who that challenger is going to be. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Congrats again to DaveyJones. Join our Discord. Join the Ice Cave Radio crew, right? We've got so much great conversation going on. You yourself can sign up to play on Conquer the Cave. We'd love to see you on the show as well. We have a ton of fun casting this stuff. We know the players have a ton of fun playing. Our community has a ton of fun watching to see who from our Ice Cave crew can be the best. Right now it's DaveyJones, but who knows? Next week it could be you. Come and sign up. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.